Virgo, right now, not months from now, not eventually when timing improves, not someday when wounds heal enough. Right now, which means this moment, this day, this week at maximum, meaning urgency is real, meaning waiting creates cost, meaning whatever needs to be communicated can't survive delay. And someone you stopped speaking to is specific direction, not someone who stopped speaking to you, not mutual silence where both withdrew equally. You stopped. You created distance. You made decision conscious or unconscious to end communication. Maybe for good reason. Maybe they hurt you. Maybe relationship was toxic. Maybe boundary was necessary. Maybe silence was protection. Maybe withdrawal was survival. Or maybe for complicated reason. Maybe conflict happened and you didn't know how to resolve it, so you just stopped. Maybe life got busy and stopping was easier than maintaining. Maybe pride made reaching out feel impossible. Maybe fear of rejection made silence feel safer than attempting reconnection. Either way, you created the silence. And now, right now, there's something you need to hear. Something about them, something they're carrying, something they're feeling, something they need to say, something that matters enough that waiting is no longer option. Here's what you gotta hear this reveals about urgency. Gotta isn't casual suggestion, isn't might be nice if you heard. Gotta is necessity, is imperative, is this matters so much that not hearing it creates damage. Something significant is happening, something that affects you, something that involves them, something that requires your awareness now, not later. Could be they're in crisis, health crisis, emotional crisis, life falling apart, situation they can't handle alone. And despite silence between you, despite distance you created, you're person they need, person who could help, person whose absence is creating additional pain in already painful situation. And you don't know because you stopped speaking, because you're not in their life, because silence means you're not receiving information about what they're experiencing. But they need you, or at minimum, they need you to know what's happening, need your awareness, if not your active support, need to not be completely alone in whatever they're facing. Could be they have something to say to you, apology, explanation, truth they've been carrying, confession, acknowledgement of harm they caused, recognition of your worth they didn't express before. And they've been trying to reach you or wanting to reach you, but silence creates barrier, creates uncertainty about whether you're open to hearing, creates fear of rejection that prevents reaching out. But what they need to say is important, is time sensitive, maybe, is eating them alive, possibly, is thing that can't stay unspoken without creating permanent damage to them or to possibility of future connection. Could be they're leaving, moving, disappearing from geographic proximity or from shared circles, and departure creates deadline, creates last opportunity for communication before distance makes connection nearly impossible. And if you don't hear whatever they need to say before they leave, if silence persists through departure, opportunity closes, window shuts. Regret becomes permanent because reunion becomes unlikely. Could be they have information you need about situation, about person, about opportunity, about truth that affects you. Information they possess that you don't have access to because you're not speaking. And that information matters, changes decisions you'd make, changes understanding you have, changes trajectory you're on. But you can't access it because silence creates barrier between you and knowledge you need. Could be time is running out, not because they're leaving, but because window for reconciliation is closing, because hurt is calcifying, because distance is becoming permanent, because what could be repaired now might be irreparable later. And waiting, choosing to maintain silence means missing window, means relationship that could be salvaged becomes relationship that's permanently lost, means opportunity that exists now becomes regret that haunts later. This reflection invites you to consider who specifically have you stopped speaking to that this might be about. Ex, friend, family member, colleague, mentor, someone who hurt you, someone you hurt, someone who just drifted away. Identifying WHO helps you prepare, helps you recognize if message about them reaches you through other channels, helps you decide if you should reach out instead of waiting for information to arrive. This reflection invites you to consider what would make hearing from them or about them urgent right now. Their crisis, their message, their departure information they have, window closing, something else. Understanding what creates urgency helps you assess whether reaching out is necessary despite discomfort or whether waiting is still appropriate despite this message. What you should do knowing there's something urgent to hear. If you know who this is about, if one person immediately came to mind when you read this, consider reaching out. Not because message told you to, because your instinct identified person. Because something in you recognized urgency. Reach out simply. Hey, I know we haven't spoken in a while, but I've been thinking about you. Are you okay? Is there anything you need to tell me? Simple, non-accusatory, opening door without demanding they walk through, creating space for communication without forcing it. Worst case, they don't respond or respond coldly and you have answer. You tried. Urgency was false alarm or applied to different person. You can return to silence knowing you attempted. Best case, they respond with relief, with gratitude, with whatever they've been needing to say, and communication opens, and whatever urgency exists gets addressed. If you don't know who this is about, if multiple people came to mind, or no one came to mind, wait for information to arrive through other means, through mutual friends, through them reaching out directly, through circumstances that clarify who needs hearing. Don't reach out to everyone you've stopped speaking to, creating chaos or false hope. Wait for clarity. Wait for specificity. Wait for actual signal about who and why. If fear is preventing reaching out, if you know who but you're afraid of rejection or reopening wounds or being vulnerable, examine that fear. Is fear protective wisdom? Is this person actually unsafe? Would reaching out create real harm? Is boundary you created still necessary for your well-being? If yes, if fear is wisdom, honor it. Maintain boundary. Whatever urgency exists might not be yours to address. Their crisis or message doesn't obligate your participation if participation costs your safety. If no, if fear is just discomfort, just pride, just vulnerability aversion, consider whether discomfort is worth missing whatever urgent thing exists, whether ego is worth potential regret, whether comfort is worth closed window. Sometimes discomfort is price of doing right thing, of being present, of maintaining connection even when connection is complicated. And if you reach out and they're in crisis, if urgency is about their need for support, decide what you can offer. Can you show up fully? Can you offer limited support? Can you offer nothing but awareness? You're not obligated to save them, not obligated to sacrifice yourself, not obligated to return to relationship just because crisis exists. But you can offer what you can offer. Can say, I can't be fully present like I used to be, but I can do this specific thing. Can acknowledge their struggle without taking full responsibility for solving it. What they might need to say if urgency is about communication. I'm sorry, full apology, real apology. Apology that acknowledges specific harm, that takes responsibility, that doesn't justify or minimize, that demonstrates they've done work to understand what they did wrong. And if apology is what you've been needing, if their harm is why you stopped speaking, receiving, it might create shift, might open possibility, might not fully heal, but might create foundation for healing. Or apology might come too late, might not be enough, might not change your decision to maintain distance, and that's valid too. Apology doesn't obligate forgiveness. I was wrong about you. Recognition they misjudged, misunderstood, made assumptions, treated you based on false perception, and now they see clearly, see your worth, see their error, see what they lost. That recognition might feel validating, might confirm you weren't crazy, might prove distance was necessary because they couldn't see you properly before, or might feel too late, might not matter anymore because you've moved past needing their validation. Either response is valid. I need to tell you the truth about confession, information they've been hiding, reality they've been protecting you from, or protecting themselves from revealing, truth that changes understanding of what happened or why things ended. That truth might be painful, might be relieving, might be complicated. But truth allows you to understand fully instead of operating on partial information or false assumptions. And understanding, even painful understanding, often serves better than comfortable ignorance. I'm in love with you, or I've always loved you, or I made mistake ending things. Romantic declaration, confession of feelings they didn't express before or can't suppress anymore. That declaration creates choice, creates decision point, creates need for you to assess whether you feel same, whether relationship is salvageable, whether their confession changes anything about your decision to stop speaking. Maybe it does. Maybe love is mutual. Maybe timing is better now. Maybe whatever caused silence is resolvable and feelings create motivation to resolve. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe confession is too late. Maybe feelings aren't mutual. Maybe love isn't enough to overcome what caused separation. All valid responses. I forgive you if you caused harm. If your reason silence exists because you hurt them, hearing their forgiveness might be what you need. Might be release you've been seeking. Might be permission to stop carrying guilt. Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. They can forgive and still maintain distance. But forgiveness communicated creates closure, creates peace for both. What happens if you don't reach out, if you maintain silence? You might miss crucial information, crisis you could have helped with, truth that would have changed understanding, opportunity that would have opened, apology you've been needing, declaration you've been wanting. That missing creates regret potentially, creates what if that haunts, creates wondering that persists. Or you might avoid drama you don't need, crisis that isn't yours to solve, communication that would have reopened wounds, relationship that's healthier dead than revived. That avoiding creates peace potentially, creates protection from harm, creates space for healing that contact would disrupt. Both outcomes are possible. You don't know which until you act or don't act, until you reach out or maintain silence, until urgency passes and you see results of choice. Window might close permanently, opportunity for connection might expire, person might leave, crisis might resolve without you, truth might stay buried, relationship might calcify into permanent distance. That closing creates finality, creates end without resolution, creates story that stops mid-sentence without proper ending. For some relationships, toxic ones, harmful ones, relationships that needed ending, that finality is appropriate, is healthy, is protection working as intended. For other relationships, complicated ones, relationships that ended from misunderstanding or circumstance not fundamental incompatibility, finality creates loss, creates missed opportunity for repair or at minimum for closure. The power is yours. It always has been. Someone you stopped speaking to, right, now you got to hear this. And when urgency creates pressure to reconnect or at minimum to listen, whether about their crisis, their message, their departure, information they possess, or closing window, your job is identifying who this might be, about examining whether fear is wisdom or discomfort, reaching out simply if instinct says yes, maintaining boundary if safety requires it, and recognizing that urgency doesn't obligate full reconciliation, but might warrant at least opening communication to hear what needs to be heard. Take what resonates, softly release the rest, trust yourself. And listen, you stopped speaking for reasons plural, probably, valid reasons, protective reasons, maybe, necessary reasons, possibly. Those reasons don't disappear just because urgency exists. Don't become invalid just because they need something or have something to say. You're allowed to maintain boundary even when urgency is real. Allowed to say, I hear there's something you need to say, but I'm not in position to hear it. Allowed to protect yourself even when they're in crisis. But you're also allowed to soften boundary if urgency warrants it. If what they need to say or what they're experiencing creates genuine reason to temporarily or permanently reopen communication. Your choice, based on your assessment, based on your needs and safety and capacity, not based on guilt, not based on obligation, not based on urgency creating pressure you can't resist, based on wisdom, on knowing yourself, on understanding what you can handle and what you can't, on recognizing when reaching out serves you both and when it serves neither. Trust yourself to know the difference. Then act accordingly. Take care.